So, how is a nation born? I mean, really, think about it. It sounds like something out of a legend, right? Does it just happen with a piece of paper, a vote, or is it something way more intense? Well, sometimes a nation is forged in fire, born from war. And its birth certificate, that's written in blood and signed with a surrender document. That's exactly what happened here. This is the story of Bangladesh. So to really get this, we've got to rewind. Go all the way back to the start, to a country that was basically broken from day one.
All right, so picture this. It's 1947. The British are leaving India, and they decide to create a new country called Pakistan. The idea was to have a nation for Muslims. Simple, right? Well, look at this map. Not so simple. Pakistan was split into two parts, east and west, with 1,000 miles of India, their biggest rival, smack dab in the middle. I mean, it's just a bizarre setup. And you know what? That huge physical gap, it was nothing compared to the cultural one.
And the whole thing was just completely lopsided. East Pakistan had most of the people, over half the population, and they spoke Bengali, this beautiful historic language. But West Pakistan, they had all the power. The army, the government, the money, everything. And they had this one big idea, to make everyone speak their language, Urdu. And this wasn't just, a friendly suggestion. It was an order from the top. In 1948, Pakistan's own founder, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, laid down the law. Imagine being one of the tens of millions of Bengali speakers and hearing that. This wasn't just about politics. It felt like a direct attack on their culture, their history, their entire identity. So, what do? You fight back. And it all started with a fight for their language, for their mother tongue. At first, it was protests, marches. But then, in 1952, things got real. Police opened fire on student protesters in the city of Dhaka. People died. And those students, they became martyrs. Their deaths lit a fuse, and from that tragedy, a powerful new sense of Bengali identity was born. Now, all this energy, this new sense of identity, it needed a lightning rod. It needed a leader, someone who could take all that passion and turn it into a real political movement. And that man's name was Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And here's where things get serious. In 1966, this leader, Sheikh Mujib, he comes out with this famous 6-point program. Now, this wasn't just some wish list, oh no. It was a full-on blueprint for autonomy. We're talking separate currencies, control over their own taxes, their own trade deals. Basically, it was a demand to let East Pakistan run its own show.
So, was this a popular idea? Let me put it this way. In the big 1970 election, look at this number. Sheikh Mujib's party won 167 out of 169 seats available in East Pakistan. I mean, that's not just a win, that's a total domination. It was a crystal clear message from the people: we want autonomy.
You know what the government in West Pakistan did? They ignored it. They just refused to hand over power. So, on March 7th, 1971, Sheikh Mujib stands before a sea of people. We're talking over 1 million, and gives the speech of a lifetime. He basically says, the struggle this time is for our freedom, for our independence. The crowd goes wild. This was it, the point of no return. It was a declaration of independence in everything but name. And the response from West Pakistan? It wasn't a phone call. It wasn't a negotiation. It was a brutal, carefully planned military assault. They even gave it a chilling name, Operation Searchlight. On the night of March 25th, they launched it. The plan was as simple as it was vicious. Step 1, take away all the weapons from Bengali soldiers and police. Step 2, shut down all the phones and radio stations. Step 3, go after the students and professors at Dhaka University, the brains of the movement. And Step 4, arrest Sheikh Mujib and the other leaders. Game over. Or so they thought.
But here's the thing about trying to crush a people's spirit. Sometimes, you just make it stronger. That night didn't end the movement. It started a war. With their leader in jail and their home under attack, the people of Bengal, they fought back. This was the start of the freedom fighters' hustle.
They became the Mukti Bahini, which means the Liberation Army. And this wasn't some polished professional force. It was a gritty mix of soldiers who'd switch sides, local militias, and everyday people. Students, farmers, you name it. They split the entire country into 11 battle zones. And just like that, every single village became part of the fight. Look, they were smart. They knew they couldn't win a straight-up fight against the Pakistani army. So they didn't. They fought a classic guerrilla war. They used the terrain, the rivers, the jungles to their advantage. Their whole game was to make life miserable for the occupying army, hit-and-run attacks, blowing up power plants to cripple the economy, taking out bridges and roads to grind the enemy to a halt. The goal was simple: make it hurt. Make it so painful that the other side would just have to give up.
But the cost, the human cost, was just staggering. The Pakistani army's response was horrific. They targeted intellectuals, students, the Hindu minority. It was a systematic campaign of terror that's now widely considered a genocide. And the result? 10 million people. That's a number that's hard to even wrap your head around. 10 million people had to run for their lives, flooding across the border into India. It was one of the biggest, fastest movements of refugees the world had ever seen.
In a crisis that big, the world couldn't ignore it. You had George Harrison from the Beatles, whose friend, the famous musician Ravi Shankar, was from the region. Harrison decided he had to do something, so he put together the Concert for Bangladesh in New York City. This was a huge deal. It was basically the very first giant celebrity benefit concert. And just like that, overnight, everyone on the planet knew the name Bangladesh and knew that its people were suffering.
So for 9 long, brutal months, these freedom fighters, the Mukti Bahini, kept up the fight. But as 1971 started winding down, the endgame was about to begin. The big turning point came on December 3rd. Pakistan made a huge mistake and launched airstrikes on India. That was all the reason India needed. They officially joined the war, teaming up with the Mukti Bahini. When you see these tanks rumbling toward Dhaka, you just know the game is almost over. And it was fast. Incredibly fast. In less than 2 weeks, the Pakistani army was totally surrounded. And on this historic day, at a racecourse in Dhaka, they sat down and signed the surrender papers. Think about that. It was the largest military surrender anywhere in the world since the end of World War II.
And just like that, the war was over. After all the years of being ignored, after 9 months of absolute horror, Bangladesh was finally born, a new free nation.
But hold on. What about the guy who kicked this whole thing off? The leader who inspired a nation to fight for its freedom, all while he was locked away in a prison cell.
Well, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was given a title by his people, Bangabandhu, which means friend of Bengal. When he was finally released from prison, he came home a hero. It's amazing, really. He wasn't even there for the fighting, but it was his words, his vision, that fueled the entire revolution. To this day, he is known, simply, as the father of the nation.
So the story of Bangladesh, it's an incredible tale about the power of language, of identity, and just a sheer refusal to be silenced. But winning a war, that's just the beginning. Which brings us to a much bigger question, doesn't it? Once the guns go silent and the dust settles, what does it take to actually build a nation from the ashes?